Yes.
That camera's rolling?
Yes. Okay. So whenever you're ready, okay?
Okay. Hi, my name is Elder Jay. I'm an elder here at QPEM, a church here in Queens. It's like a fortune cookie. Let's see what we got. If you could do missions anywhere in the world, do you have a particular place you would go? For what I've seen and what our church is currently doing, we do a lot of countries where in economics we would say are developing countries. The one place that I think might be a good place for us to go to, believe it or not, are countries where the countries are developed, but just for one reason or another, churches have had a hard time taking place to grow. Like a country like Japan, for example. From my understanding, why churches and missions just haven't been that successful in Japan is more of a cultural thing. The way people trust each other is through lifetime commitments. For the mission folks who do abroad, some of them do serve a very long time, but we sometimes have these rotations of people coming in and out, go there for 2 to 5 years, and then leave the country. But a country like Japan, I think it takes a little bit longer than that, where if you're going to have to stay there 10, 15, 20 years to be able to get the people to trust you and to open up. If God calls me to missions, and if He calls me to a country like Japan is where maybe I'd like to go and see missions go. Let's see what this one is. No wife question, please. Do you have any funny dating stories?
It's not really a life question.
This is what my wife's going to hear. One time when I was dating, when my wife, before we got married, we were dating. I took her older sister, me, and 2 of my older friends. We went on a fishing trip in the Hamptons. So my wife was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to go fishing one time," and so I decided to take her sister, and my friends go fishing there. We rent a boat, we go out into the bay, I think it's the Peconic Bay, and then we start fishing, and we're having a good time, and then it's time to go home. There's that saying that you have to be careful, like when you go fishing, especially out into a certain area, is that you got to make sure you know where you are. For one reason or another that day, I just could not remember where we were. So we were just literally kind of driving the boat around in the bay, and I was trying to figure out where's the inlet that I'm supposed to park this boat. And then after like 15 minutes of just boating around, everybody's like, "Do you know where you're going?" I kind of looked at everybody and I was like, I think we're lost. So everybody started freaking out, and then all of a sudden my wife and her sister like, "Hey, we haven't gone to the bathroom in over 5 hours. We need to get going." And so at that point, I made a decision to just pull into somebody's backyard, kind of knock on their door and ask them, "Can we use your bathroom?" And the guy looked at us strangely. He was like, at first, when he saw a bunch of Asians in a boat, he was probably thinking like a bunch of refugees or something. But, the guy was gracious enough and nice enough to let us use his bathroom. But that's the one dating story that I can kind of remember that I thought was funny. All right, next question. Let's see. No more wife questions. If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? The winning number to the lotto recently. That's what I know. Okay. When I was younger, and maybe a lot of other folks have had this experience as well, I went to church because my family went to church. I really never understood why it was important going to church. I would tell my younger self at this point, whatever you do, don't worry about what's going to happen to the future. Really just have faith in your faith in God. And believe it or not, everything will be okay. So, that's the one thing I just didn't have when I was younger. I was growing up, whether as a teenager, young adult, you're back in college, whatever maybe, you just have a lot of anxieties. And I would kind of tell myself at that point in time, really just have trust, have faith that you're going to be okay. How did you become a church elder? How did you view the calling? Tell us the journey. How I became a church elder was the QPEM congregation at that time elected me to become elder. I actually spoke with Pastor Peter, mentioned to him that this was something that I just felt wasn't right at that point in my life. Part of the reason why I didn't want to be an elder was just because there was still a lot of things in my life that I needed to work out, and I'm still working through it right now in my life. But as an elder, how could you be a spiritual leader for the church when in my case, I just didn't feel like I was that type of person. But after speaking with Pastor Pete, I really came to understand that it's not whether I'm ready or not, but that God had chosen me to take this next step in my life. And you're just supposed to have trust and faith that there was a reason why God had chosen me at that point to be an elder. So I took that wisdom that Pastor Pete gave to me, and at this point, he's right. At this point, it was just a matter of trusting and just accepting that sometimes God has a plan for us, and we just don't know what it's going to be, but we just have to trust in that plan. Oh man! Here you go. Are there any important dates that you often forget in your life? Can be related to family, church, work, or anything unique to yourself. So the one thing I've always had a hard time remembering, and it's going to sound terrible saying this, are my kids and my wife's birthday. And the only reason being is that my oldest daughter, my oldest son, and my wife, they're all born in November, and they're all very close to each other. So I always get the dates confused. So like one year I go to my oldest son in November, I'm like, well, happy birthday. And he's like, no, it's Faith's birthday today. I'm like, oh man. And then one time I go to my son, I'm like, well, happy birthday. And my daughter, and she's like, no, it's his birthday today. So these are things I always get confused. Why it's hard for my wife's birthday is we also celebrate the first time we met and started dating in November. So we started dating in November, and shortly thereafter it was her birthday. So I always get those two dates confused. So like November 17 is when we first started dating, and then November 27th is her birthday. So I tend to get those dates mixed up as well. And then the other thing, which is kind of shameful, is I do sometimes forget my anniversary. I've been married now 23, going on 24 years. The first couple of years, I was pretty good at remembering it. And then one year, my wife just called me out one day and she's like, you know what day it is today? I'm like, oh, today's just another Thursday or Friday, whatever. She's like, wrong answer. And I'm just like, oh man, I think I'm in trouble. And she's like looking at me, she's like, you don't even know why I'm upset. I'm just like, because I forgot to say you're beautiful? It is August 25th. I do remember. And yes, Dory, I didn't forget this year. So there's something nice planned for this year. All right. Where did you go to college? Do you have any funny stories from college? May use your own discretion. So this conversation, I'm going to keep it G. Where did you go to college? I went to college here in New York City. I went to NYU. Do you have any funny stories from college? I think all 4 years is kind of just funny to me now that I think about it in hindsight. And the fact that I was able to graduate and survive and somehow get a job after I graduated, I think that's kind of, in itself, it's a bit funny. But more than funny stories, I would say they're just more memorable moments for me. Some of my closest friends that I met in college was my freshman year. Freshman year, you just meet a lot of people, especially when you're new in school and you're just trying to go to all these clubs and just meet a whole bunch of people. But my closest friends from college were the guys that I actually lived with in my dormitory. From there, they just became my closest friends. Even to this day, we stay in touch.
For your last question, I'm going to show you a photo that we stalked you via Facebook for.
Okay.
Can you tell us about this time?
Oh, yeah. So here it is. Here's the, if you guys can see it or not. I forget what this is called, when you just like kind of hang on a rope and you'd walk across the rope. What is that event called?
Tightrope walking?
Adventure.
Dr. Shin, what do you call that? When you walk across the rope?
The ropes course.
The ropes course? Oh, okay. This was with a discipleship group that I did here at church. You'll see some of the faces in here, you'll recognize them. A lot of these guys still come to our church. And what we wanted to do was a male bonding event for our discipleship group, and it was either this or we go to the public showers together, the saunas. So there's no way, I love my D group, my discipleship group and everything, but there's no way I was gonna let them see me naked. So I was just like, let's just go the rope thing. I'm afraid of heights, but yes, I'd rather do that than, be butt naked for 4 hours with you guys. So that's what this picture is. So this was, I want to say, about 10 years ago. It's almost been 10 years, I think, since we took this picture. Yeah, a bunch of us, we decided to commit 3 years of our lives to each together, studying the Word, being intentional in each other's lives, just having dinner together, hanging out together, and obviously the most important thing, trying to grow spiritually together. So that's what this was. So if you want to get to know me a little bit more, learn and ask me more questions or anything about myself, definitely come to stop by the church here at QPEM, and more than happy to talk to you.